Megan's Money Matters.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Megan McCormack here on Megan's Money Matters. Today we have a special guest, American economist Milton Friedman. Welcome, Milton, and thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Megan. It's a pleasure to be here and to discuss these important economic topics with you and your listeners. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you, so am I. For those who don't know who Milton Friedman is, can you start with a quick introduction?
Absolutely. I'm Milton Friedman, an American economist known for my work in the fields of monetary history and policy. I'm best known for advocating free market capitalism and minimal government intervention. I also authored several influential books, including Capitalism and Freedom, and contributed greatly to the development of monetarism. I'm excited to delve into these ideas today.
Great. So let's start with monetarism. Can you tell me a little bit more about it and how money supply and economic activity are related?
Of course, monetarism is essentially the economic theory that emphasizes the role of governments in controlling the amount of money in circulation. The basic idea is that changes in the money supply have a direct and predictable impact on economic activity, including inflation and employment. I argue that a stable growth rate of the money supply is key to maintaining economic stability and preventing inflation. In short, by carefully managing the money supply, we can help create a more stable and predictable economic environment.
So, you do want some government involvement to stabilize the economy, but I understand that you don't want too much government regulations. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. My view is that while some government involvement is necessary, especially in maintaining a stable monetary environment, too much regulation can stifle innovation and reduce economic efficiency. I believe in a limited government role focusing on ensuring the rule of law, protecting property rights, and providing a stable monetary framework. Beyond that, I argue that free markets are more effective at allocating resources and driving innovation. It's all about finding that balance.
So, you speak basically of government not overreaching. How do you feel about Donald Trump, who is the current president in the United States, and what he's doing with the vast changes of government policy and imposing large tariffs on trade partners and their goods coming into the US?
Well, from a monetarist perspective, I'd argue that government interventions like large tariffs can often lead to unintended negative consequences. Tariffs tend to raise prices for consumers and can disrupt global supply chains, which ultimately can hamper economic growth rather than help it. In general, I believe that free trade is beneficial for all parties involved, and that reducing trade barriers annually leads to more competition, innovation, and better outcomes for consumers. So I'd likely be cautious about policies that could interfere with free market principles.
So then, for example, I'm Canadian, and in today's world, 2025, Canada is dealing with a huge sudden shift in our economy due to US President Donald Trump. As we've already spoken of, he's producing these high tariffs on Canadian goods. We've had to source much of our imports from other nations, raising our prices, and some of our industries are moving into the US due to the financial loss from these US tariffs on Canadian goods, causing us job loss. What would you think the Canadian government should be doing at this point for its people?
In such a scenario, I'd suggest that the Canadian government focus on a few key strategies. First, diversifying trade partners would be crucial. Seeking out new markets and strengthening existing trade relationships beyond just the US. This can help mitigate the impact of tariffs. Secondly, investing in innovation and technology can help Canadian industries become more competitive on a global scale. And finally, providing support and retraining programs for workers who are affected by these shifts can help ease the transition and maintain stability. Overall, the goal would be to foster resilience and adaptability in the Canadian economy.
Nice. Okay. You also have an idea of, you call it the permanent income theory of spending. How does that theory work?
Absolutely. The permanent income hypothesis suggests that individuals base their consumption decisions not just on their current income, but rather on their expected long term average income. In other words, people try to smooth their consumption over time so they don't drastically change their spending based on temporary fluctuations in income. Instead, they look at their overall lifetime earnings and adjust their spending accordingly. This theory helps explain why people might save more during periods of high income and spend more when they anticipate stable or growing income in the long run.
So then, how would this concept work in regards to, say, like the stimulus support that Canadians received from the government during the COVID shutdowns?
That's a great question. According to the permanent income hypothesis, when people receive temporary stimulus payments, they often don't increase their consumption by the full amount. Instead, they might save a significant portion of it because they perceive these payments as temporary and not part of their long term income. So rather than dramatically changing their spending, they tend to smooth out their consumption over time. This means that in practice, stimulus payments might not always lead to a proportional increase in immediate consumption, but rather can bolster savings and provide a financial buffer for the future.
So this then would be the opposite of the idea that the governments have for the stimulus packages.
Exactly. It can be a bit of a paradox. Governments often hope that stimulus payments will directly boost consumer spending and stimulate economic growth in the short term. However, the permanent income hypothesis suggests that if people view these payments as temporary, they might choose to save rather than spend. This means that the overall impact on immediate economic activity might be less than anticipated. It's a fascinating dynamic and definitely something policymakers have to consider when designing these programs.
Okay. And to switch gears a bit, I know that private protecting private property rights is important to you. Can you tell me more?
Absolutely. I believe that protecting private property rights is fundamental to a well functioning market economy. When individuals and businesses have secure property rights, they have the incentive to invest, innovate, and manage resources efficiently. It also encourages competition and helps drive economic growth. On the other hand, when property rights are insecure or poorly defined, it can lead to inefficiencies, underinvestment, and even corruption. So I see private property rights as a cornerstone of economic freedom and prosperity.
So basically, the fruits of our labor is fundamental to personal property rights.
Exactly. That's a core principle. When individuals can enjoy the fruits of their labor, it not only incentivizes hard work and innovation, but it also empowers people to make decisions that are best for them and their families. That in turn leads to a more dynamic and prosperous economy overall. It's all about creating an environment where people can thrive and contribute to the greater good.
Right. So then the other side of this, we're talking about hard work and it paying off, but then how do you feel about social assistance programs, for example, for those who, for whatever reason, are not working hard or are unable to?
That's an important consideration. I believe that while the market works best when people are empowered to succeed through their own efforts, it's also crucial to have a compassionate safety net. Social assistance programs play a vital role in supporting those who are genuinely unable to work due to circumstances beyond their control, whether it's disability, illness, or other hardships. The key is to design these programs in a way that encourages self sufficiency and provides a pathway for people to eventually become independent. It's all about balance, ensuring that support is there when needed, but also encouraging personal responsibility and opportunity.
So then, what would be acceptable social assistance programs or a tax system? What would that look like for you?
For me, an ideal social assistance system would strike a balance between providing essential support and encouraging self reliance. It would offer targeted assistance to those in genuine need, such as temporary financial aid for those facing unemployment or disability. At the same time, it would include programs that help individuals gain new skills, education, and employment opportunities, ultimately leading to independence. As for taxation, I believe in a a tax system that is fair and efficient, one that doesn't overly burden individuals or businesses, but still provides the necessary revenue to fund essential public services. A progressive tax system that takes into account ability to pay can help ensure that the burden is shared fairly while still incentivizing growth and innovation. Ultimately, it's about creating a system that supports both individual opportunity and collective well-being.
So I know one of your ideas is a negative income tax.
Absolutely. The negative income tax is indeed one of the ideas I've championed. The concept is pretty straightforward. Instead of traditional welfare programs, the government would provide financial assistance to those whose income falls below a certain threshold. Essentially, it guarantees a basic income floor. If someone earns above that threshold, they simply receive less assistance, and if they earn less, they get more. This approach can help reduce poverty and provide a smoother transition into the workforce while also maintaining incentives to work. It's a way of combining the benefits of welfare with the incentives of the labor market, creating a more efficient and compassionate safety net.
Okay. Milton, I have one more question for you, and it's a question that I happen to ask all of my guests. What would you take, the blue pill or the red pill?
That's a classic question. I suppose if we're speaking metaphorically, I'd lean toward the med pill because I've always been committed to seeking truth and understanding the deeper realities of economics and human behavior, but I'm always up for a good intellectual adventure no matter which pill it is.
Great. Milton, I'd like to thank you so much for being here today. We have run out of time, but it's been such a pleasure speaking to you today.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's been a pleasure to join you and chat about these important topics. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm glad to have been a part of your podcast. Thanks again, and I look forward to hearing more from you and your listeners in the future.
Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This has been Megan's Money Matters, bringing you conversations that make sense to the economy and the world around us. Until next time, keep thinking critically, stay curious, and remember, freedom and knowledge go hand in hand. Goodbye.